start off the day at the camp, which was like up the hill, right next door to where they keep the nuclear weapons stores. Hello, and welcome to Guda's Story Time. The time when Guda tells stories, which always coincides with I have a long fucking drive. I'm in the prison years. Let's talk about my first job was the junk yard with the judge. So that was the first, but that was on the camp, right? Then I got sent to the golf course, which the golf course was like 4 different nines, I think. Mainly what the prisoners do is weed eating, edging. So you start off the day at the camp, which was like up the hill, right next door to where they keep the nuclear weapons stores. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell a whole story about just the crazy military shit that I saw. So we get up, there's breakfast and stuff, but then there's a point where you're supposed to be in a line waiting to get on a bus. That bus would then go down to a spot on the base and drop everybody off, and then the prospective, what they call details, I think, details or something like that. And it was like all the different squadrons had, you know, different details. So they would have to come pick up the prisoners from that drop-off, right? And then they take them to wherever, and then they do their work there all day, eat their lunch. They gave us sack lunches to have. The golf course was like a huge crew, and it was like all the way at the other end of the base, so it took a while to get there. So you'd get there on the golf course bus, basically. Now, the golf course just had like a guy that was just an employee that just, you know, he wasn't in the military, never was in the military. I mean, and really in the big scheme of things, I mean, the guy had probably kept his nose clean his whole life, but like, the guy was just kind of, and he was actually kind of a cool guy. I wish I could remember his name. But he was just kind of a simple guy, working kind of a, I mean, it was a government job, but you know, like a lower, and it might not even have been a government job, because a lot of the times they do this little trick where they make it contractors so they can spend less money. So I don't know if he was actually a government employee or not, but he was in charge of like, fuck man, maybe like 20 or something, 20 different prisoners. So we get there, most people would get there, and when you started there, you'd grab a weed eater and a golf cart, and you'd literally drive around all the different tree circles and around the sand traps and the water traps. So then getting balls out of the water traps was another one. I already had experience in landscaping maintenance, landscape maintenance. The golf course had a serious problem with puddles. It was a desert, so they were always watering the driest area. So when you're doing that, you basically end up with areas that get overwatered, where the water just pools up, right? So then you got golf carts driving through those, making ruts, and it just basically makes your golf course shitty, right? What I actually started doing there was I'd get there, I'd get a tractor, not a golf cart, like a big truck type of thing, a trailer, a sod cutter, and then on the back of the tractor had like a big auger bit on it that was like a big drill, and like big, like this, like bigger, okay? So we'd sod cut out the grass that was ruined above these puddles, and then drill a hole, fill that hole, and then, so basically I was making French drains, right? And this was actually a solution that I presented to the friggin', right? Because, I mean, like, I had a pretty cush job. Like, I could fucking take any equipment I wanted, and my job was just fixing these puddles, right? And I was like, you know, I can fix those puddles for you. And they're just all, really? Okay. And then I was pretty much, you know, the golden boy on the golf course. And I did that for quite a while. Basically why I got out of the golf course was I got a hernia. So, I mean, and I did like, I don't know how many of those French drains on that golf course, but I mean, I would literally do like maybe a couple a day sometimes, maybe 3 or something for months. I mean, it was bad. I mean, I literally fixed their golf course for them for 12 cents an hour. Although I think they would give us like snacks or something. Yes, slave labor. That was my job at the golf course. Now, the golf course is where I was going to escape from. It was perfect. I mean, it literally butted up to just neighborhoods with just a crappy little fence. Like, you could just hop across that fence with no issues at all. And I was working on the golf course when 9/11 happened. And they shut the whole base down. No prisoners was allowed. They fucking had like, they just, back then, the military was on its smallest it had ever been. Or maybe not ever, but it had really been shrunk down, right? And people were mainly just in the military to get college educations, right? So the base was filled with like a bunch of little smart people, you know, like that's trying to get a college education for free out of the government for doing some military work, right? Well, then all of a sudden 9/11 jumped off, and like you got these little tiny Asian chicks. They're sending them to fucking Afghanistan with a gun and shit. And it's like crazy. And then they come back from that, they're like, they sent me after Osama. It was like, holy shit. You? Okay. Not long before somebody realized that that was a really dumb idea, and that this itsy, I mean, she was like fucking 80 pounds. Like, I'm not diminishing her abilities, but I don't think 80-pound females or 80-pound males. Let's not get gender biased here. The 80-pounders are probably not good military fighters for the, you know. I mean, she was good on the base doing frickin', you know. I mean, they got all kinds of shit that doesn't involve having a gun and going at, you know. And, you know, women can do that too, but they need to probably weigh more than 80 fucking pounds. I'm not exaggerating. She was a tiny little Asian girl. Tiny. When she said this, they sent me after Osama. I mean, she was our driver on a different crew years later. Not on the golf course. Nothing to do with the golf course. But the golf course and all this stuff got shut down in 9/11. But then the golf course was one of the ones that got opened up before the rest of them. And the security was a hell lot higher. I mean, fuck, they had like piled shit. And had like a tank or some shit. Like somebody was gonna start attacking the fucking Air Force base in Nevada. Like a ground assault. Like that was coming. Like that's what they were ready for. And seeing that shit was just like, what the fuck? Just mind bending. Like, really? You guys are, you know, just all a fucking show. You know, that's what my opinion was. It was just all a show. It's like, you know, a couple fucking, we're not even going to get into 9/11 right now, but that shit happens, and then, you know, so they opened up a handful of jobs that were really critical to the operation of the Air Force Base, which is the golf course. I mean, this was like the Air Force Base in the Air Force. Nellis Air Force Base is like the pinnacle of all the Air Force bases. It's like the top. That's it. They have this, it's called Red Flag, this huge international war games, Air Force war games that goes on there every year and lasts for freaking months. Seems like. It probably doesn't last for months, probably a month. So it's a big deal, that place. And so their golf course is a critical operating, I guess. So I got back down there. Now I'm there in the higher security, and it was time to fucking scoot out. I think I was a little late on the whole thing. Like, I literally had to like give my people, and they didn't show up. Then I'm on the Air Force Base, and I'm like rolling with this hernia for months, because I'm like, I don't want to get a fucking surgery in prison. So I'm holding off. 9/11 happens. Now I'm like stuck at the camp, still not pressing the issue that my guts are filling up my nutsack when I get out of bed in the morning. And so, because I'm like, I'll get this taken care of on the streets. And then I go, I pseudo escape, I come back, nobody there to pick me up. Now I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna get this hernia taken care of. So then they put me on uber light duty, because I had literally my nuts, like, I'll tell the hernia story in another story, but literally my nutsack was like this full of guts every day. It was insane. So, yeah. Well, that's the story of my first job on the Air Force Base. And, you know, as far as the shenanigans were concerned, it's like I was not shenaniganing at all on the golf course, because I was there trying to escape, right? That was buying time to find somebody that's gonna come get me so I can go to Canada and live out my fucking nice life with all my money and my connections and my friends and all that shit. Was like, fuck this, I'm not doing all this time. That's why I kissed ass and didn't get in fights, and all the shit that I put up with was just to escape. And then nobody showed up to get me. Fuck. 3 people I tried to get. This one dude that did time with me that I sent a fucking Land Rover to. Like, here, you don't have a car to come get me? Here's a fucking Land Rover. Held up at the front gate to stop like some assault, but then you'd go on the golf course, which was directly all connected. There was no division between the golf course and the base. It was all one. But it butted up to like neighborhoods and shit, and they did zero, not a fucking thing to reinforce those fences or anything. You know, maybe they have some kind of fucking game plan to like bulldoze all those people's shit up to make a fence if shit really gets that crazy. But I mean, it seemed retarded as fuck to me. You know, you got like, I don't know, if I was a military force coming to attack a base, I'm gonna come to the fucking front gate, especially when there's a whole giant golf course that's completely unsecured right there. So it was a show for the news, because that's all 9/11 was, is a show to scare you into buying the fucking war on terror, because the drug war was piddling the fuck out. That shit was about done. They had movies like Traffic coming out. You had the governor of fucking New Mexico getting a lot of airtime saying the drug war was a failure. Then 9/11 happens and they tied that shit. If you smoke a joint, you're supporting terrorists. Are you fucking kidding me? So yeah. Just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but. Alright, like and subscribe, come back and watch another video. Or don't watch any of these videos at all. Wait for the book. Come get me. Motherfucker did it, obviously. This chick that used to be all up in my shit, that actually was the one that made it so, because see, the cops busted the house, they found this suitcase. Well, that wasn't all my money. Like, so that I had other stashes in the house that the cops didn't know about. So this chick knew about them because I had fucking told her about it. I had been talking to her after I got out of prison and shit, or after I got busted, and through mail. And then she just kind of, again, it was like 9/11. People were freaked out. So, and I kind of understand it, but I mean, it wasn't, you know, they could have just dipped down there and checked it out beforehand and just been, oh yeah, there's no, you know, they're probably in their head thinking there's like, you know, fucking armed guards all the way around the Air Force Base, but it really wasn't like that. It was so crazy. It was like they had this big show of shit piled up at the front gate to stop like some assault, but then you'd go on the golf course, which was directly all connected. There was no division between the golf course and the base. It was all one. But it butted up to like neighborhoods and shit. And they did zero, not a fucking thing to reinforce those fences or anything. You know, maybe they have some kind of fucking game plan to like bulldoze all those people's shit up to make a fence if shit really gets that crazy. But I mean, it seemed retarded as fuck to me. You know, you got like, I don't know, if I was a military force coming to attack a base, I'm gonna come to the fucking front gate, especially when there's a whole giant golf course that's completely unsecured right there. So it was a show for the news. That's all 9/11 was, is a show to scare you into buying the fucking war on terror, because the drug war was piddling the fuck out. That shit was about done. They had movies like Traffic coming out. You had the governor of fucking New Mexico getting a lot of airtime saying the drug war was a failure. Then 9/11 happens and they tied that shit. If you smoke a joint, you're supporting terrorists. Are you fucking kidding me? So yeah. Just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but. Alright, like and subscribe, come back and watch another video. Or don't watch any of these videos at all. Wait for the book.